So the Lost Media folks have done it again. The thought to be gone forever American-produced half live action, half animated Sailor Moon adaptation has been found. And it's not good. I don't know what you were expecting. Like, some of you are calling it good, and I don't know what you're talking about or just how hard up for nostalgia you are, but it's not. It's quite bad, actually.
Beside that, the last time I checked, we already have a decent live-action American Sailor Moon. We called it Buffy.
And as it's been coming forward, I've seen a lot of people talking about Sailor Moon again, which is always a fun thing. So today, I want to share with you some thoughts on Sailor Moon R the movie, which was the first Sailor Moon film, and in my humble opinion, the platonic ideal of what a magical girl anime movie should be. In the name of the crap dam, I shall review you. So Sailor Moon is of course one of those things that's just like a fixture of nerd culture. Like so much so, it's almost hard to imagine what the anime scene would be like if it didn't exist.
You, and I mean you personally, know someone who does not watch anime but has watched Sailor Moon.
Which is why I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that I don't have a deep history with it. Some of you might remember, like, before I transitioned, putting out a video with Reina talking about how I read the manga for the first time just a couple years ago. And growing up as a cis boy in a very, cis normative household, I kind of aired away from things that were intended for girls. This wasn't even like just something that was like forced on me by my parents or something silly like that. It was rather I was so insecure with what my gender identity was, even as a small child. Part of me was afraid to explore more feminine characters out of a fear that I would turn into a girl. Sorry, little me. So my getting into Sailor Moon came a lot more from having friends who grew up with it. Not just the girls in my life, although I'm thankful for all of them, but especially the guys who would still grow up watching Sailor Moon, who kind of started giving me that backdoor in. I didn't really give it my full attention though until after I was already dating Reina, and Reina made me watch this film. Sailor Moon R the movie is kind of beautiful. Like, I'm not just talking about the animation, although this is a really pretty movie to look at. It's also just a really powerful illustration of what makes this character so great. So if you don't know the history of the franchise, Sailor Moon started out as a manga series by Naoko Takeuchi. Takeuchi's manga was, a lot. For starters, it was a soft reboot of an already existing manga that she tried out called Codename Sailor V. Sailor V didn't really take off, but the main character, Minako Aino, did end up becoming a supporting character in the much more financially successful Sailor Moon. Now, while Takeuchi's manga laid out some great groundwork for a story, it didn't change the fact that most of what made Sailor Moon popular were actually the adaptations, most notably the first anime adaptation, which was largely helmed by Kunihiko Ikuhara.
If you're a queer anime fan and you haven't checked out the works of Kunihiko Ikuhara, you definitely should. His works include the subversive modern classic Revolutionary Girl Utena and the bizarre but ultimately hauntingly beautiful Mawaru Penguin Drum.
But what we're looking at today is Sailor Moon R, the first theatrical outing for Sailor Moon, and also the first time Ikuhara directed a film about the character. Sailor Moon R is basically a extended episode of the Sailor Moon R TV series. At this point in the series, Ikuhara was the primary director, and the series was starting to get real artsy looking. Characters were a lot more nuanced, and while you had a lot of repetitive, this is the villain general, this is their gimmick, they do that gimmick for a while until the girls defeat said villain general, you still had a lot of just really emotional scenes that hit like a truck. This is when the series starts to really get its legs and would carry into the third season, Sailor Moon S, which is, in my opinion, the strongest of the TV outings. Sailor Moon R the movie, though, only ties into Sailor Moon R in that, yeah, I guess it fits into the timeline around there somewhere. Thankfully, because this is a movie made for children, it has a convenient opening that introduces not just Usagi, but all of her friends, in case some of the audience aren't familiar with them yet. It's a pretty good introduction to the characters because, for one thing, everybody gets to do something iconic that really gives you a glimpse of what their whole deal is. Although, if I'm going to be super real with you, while all of the supporting characters get something great to do, it's Jupiter and Mars who really stand out. These two don't just get newly animated versions of their special attacks, but get to really show off and get some really brilliant Sakuga attached to them. It's probably worth noting that Mars was director Iguhara's favorite character, and it kind of shows. Like, she's the favorite daughter, and you can see it. But that's not the main thing that makes this movie so good. Yeah, the animation is beautiful, way better than what you got in the average TV episode of Sailor Moon. Yeah, there's some pretty freaky monsters that are a lot of fun, and the character interactions are absolutely on point. But let's talk about the two main things that make this movie great. One, this is the gayest movie about heterosexuals I think I've ever seen.
So before our plot gets running, we get to see Mamoru, aka Tuxedo Mask, Sailor Moon's boyfriend, as a little boy, and how he had a tragic parting with another little boy, offering him a rose and telling him that he'd never forget him as the boy disappears into starlight.
Is this supposed to be taken literally? Well, we're about to find out because as we go into the future, there's Usagi and her friends and Mamoru goofing off with some flowers. Until, of course, we run into the mysterious boy again, who, as it turns out, is a pretty cool-looking alien with great two-tone hair. So this alien is being manipulated by a flower monster, and he believes that he is not the one being gatekeeped and gaslit, but instead that the real gatekeep gaslight girl boss is not his evil flower, but Sailor Moon herself. Thinking she is out to take Mamoru away from him, our villain Fiore kidnaps Usagi's boyfriend, and it's up to the girls to rescue him. This is pretty standard for Tuxedo Mask, if you don't know. I mean, he's a snazzy dresser, and he's voiced by the legendary Toru Furia. But that doesn't change the fact that he's mostly a doofus who means well and is a total sweetie, but he's not, like, good at, things at all. What follows is a pretty daring rescue mission with some beautiful animation that really highlights the not just Usagi's relationship with Mamoru, but the interconnected relationship they have with each other and how much love the entire group has. It's really sweet. And of course, where it gets to its best is around the climax. And sorry, I need to spoil this movie to talk about it, but it's super old. And even knowing that going in, I won't. I don't think it would change how enjoyable the film is.
The girls put on their best show and fight valiantly against Fiore's horde, but eventually they're overwhelmed, leaving Usagi as the only one free. With them captured, Fiore threatens Usagi, telling her that if she takes one more step, if she continues to defy him, he will electrocute them to death. But for Usagi, it's not even a choice. She makes the sacrifice play. Yeah, she's a insanely powerful superhero. She could probably easily wipe this character out, and truth be told, her friends are telling her not to do it. But she loves them too much to do that. In what is probably the most beautiful moment of heroics in this movie, it's not Sailor Moon's action, but rather her choice of inaction that causes her to help her friends. And I mean, the self-sacrifice imagery is it's not subtle. I look at the pose she's in. Oh my. Oh, this is not subtle at all. Usagi is the epitome of a trope that I've coined as the Mahou Messiah. This refers to the central character in a magical girl anime whose very existence either improves the whole world or, at the very least, the immediate world around her. Sailor Moon is the obvious version, partly because not just this Christ allegory here, but she's someone whose friends often attest to the fact that she is the glue holding their entire group together. She is a young woman who sacrifices herself multiple times, including clearly in this film, in order to save, and in some cases in the TV series, literally resurrect her friends. It is because of this that this movie is such a clear and concise version of this trope. Bonus points, just like my other favorite Toru Furuya movie, this one ends with pushing an asteroid away from Earth.
Chibi Moon, Usagi's functionally younger sister character, although literally her daughter from the future. Don't think about it too much. The series it's kind of weird. Chibiusa describes her past mom, Sailor Moon, as everyone's mom, which I think is really beautiful. Yeah, again, this isn't anything too deep. I mean, realistically, this was a film made for little girls in Japan in the 90s. But that doesn't change the fact that it's a deeply entertaining film. The movie just is overfilled with things that I just really enjoy. Be it like these scenes of the girls just goofing off together at the beginning, set against the original TV theme song. Be it this scene where Fiore reunites with Mamoru and Usagi's reaction, while, a little petulant and jealous, doesn't change the fact that while she's frustrated that this man showed up trying to take her boyfriend, like, she doesn't say anything even, like, vaguely homophobic. She's just like, oh, no, 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 he's mine, you can't do that. And then there's this moment of silence that would absolutely put Hideaki Anno to shame. It all makes up for this legitimately god-awful CGI, too. So yeah, like, let's not pretend this is like some artistic masterpiece like a Studio Ghibli movie or something. But it doesn't change the fact that it's beautifully made. Be it the loving relationship the characters have with each other, the twisted romance that Fiore has with Mamoru, and how his pure thoughts that are depicted by the movie as pure thoughts are turned against him by outside forces, and that his love is considered just as valid as any of the other characters. If you have not experienced Sailor Moon, this is probably the best microcosm of why people like it so much. It's really pretty, it's artsy, there's a lot of characters wearing their emotions on their sleeves, or at least where their sleeves would be if they had them. Long gloves? Long gloves. And it's just overall a really good use of your time. I really enjoyed this movie. So if you've never gotten a chance to look at and appreciate Sailor Moon, this might be the thing to look at. And even if you have, this might be a nice trek down memory lane. It's a really cute little movie, and I just wanted to talk about it because, like I said, there's been all this talk about Sailor Moon, and I guess that finding that lost media made me think, what makes this series so special to me? And the short answer, this movie. This really good-natured little movie. I like it a lot. Also, season 3 is really good. It's about lesbians fighting mad scientists. Tell me that's not the best TV show ever. Thank you everyone once again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this goofy little video that I just kind of recorded because I wanted to talk about a movie I really like and I think is cute. This was a whole lot of fun to put together, especially rewatching Sailor Moon R with my wife. something that I will always enjoy doing. This was a whole lot of fun, and I want to give a special thanks not just to all of my patrons going up across the screen right now, and my top patrons right here. Love you guys so much. Thank you for all of your support. Also, a big thanks to longtime friend of the show, Befu, for this really adorable apron that, this Sailor Mercury apron that you gave me recently. I really like it, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And of course, to my beloved Reina, not just for helping me rewatch the film, but also like doing my makeup and helping me with the hair that you always wanted as a kid. Love you tons, sweetness. As always, keep on spockin' in the free world.